This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. With everyone staying home, the travel industry is taking a big hit, leaving too much oil in the market and driving down prices. It's not just oil, though. Businesses across America are being crushed by the national economic shutdown. But could going back to business as usual too soon put lives at stake? Dale Hurd reports.
Is it time to reopen America for business, at least on a state-by-state basis? A growing number of governors say yes. Plans are now in place in Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Texas to gradually open their states' economies after indications the coronavirus outbreak is slowing. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp says gyms, barbershops, and bowling alleys can reopen Friday, and some restaurants and theaters with social distancing. South Carolina is set to allow most retail stores to reopen, but only at 20% capacity.
I'm just really glad we can have people in the store again.
Tennessee is set to reopen most businesses May 1st. Industry giants Boeing and Bobcat are also sending people back to work. And protests continue with demands that more states open back up. In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, thousands protested the state's stay-at-home orders.
We're not subjects, we're citizens, we're free people.
In Phoenix, protesters faced off with people dressed in scrubs, as hundreds say they want their economy reopened. Dr. Anthony Fauci warns it could backfire.
What you do if you jump the gun and go into a situation where you have a big spike, you're going to set yourself back.
But 22 million Americans are out of work. Republicans and Democrats have reportedly agreed on the principles of a new aid bill. Small businesses are still waiting for that extra help. The lack of demand for oil caused the May contract price to collapse Monday into negative territory for the first time in history. But President Trump did not seem concerned.
Much of it has to do with short sellers. Much of it has to do, if you look a month into the future, I think it's at $25 or $28 a barrel.
Meanwhile, the virus has closed meatpacking plants in a half-dozen states, sparking fears of shortages. While some parts of the country are opening up, the president is tightening up the borders. Overnight, he tweeted that he will be signing an executive order temporarily suspending immigration into the U.S. because of coronavirus. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
In other news, pro-life sidewalk counselors arrested recently in Charlotte, North Carolina are taking action against the city. They say they followed social distancing guidelines and did nothing wrong leading to their arrest. Take a look at the exchange between former reality TV star, Christian and outspoken pro-lifer David Benham and police before the arrest earlier this month.
We are practicing social distancing. We have cleaned our hands. We are offering help to these mothers. And if you're saying that we don't have the right to be here, then go in the abortion clinic and make the arrest there.
Mr. Benham, I don't have the authority to go in the abortion clinic.
So you don't have the authority to go in the abortion clinic, but you have the authority to bully us and our sidewalk counselors. Yes, you are.
I'm being as nice
yes,
as
you know. You know, you're trying to be nice. It's passive aggressive. But guess what's happening? I'm not budging, and our sidewalk counselors are not budging.
I respect your rights, believe me, but at this time, can you please step over there?
I'll step over here. Yes, sir. I certainly will.
Thank you.
But you know we're right. You know we're right.
Okay.
And I appreciate you serving. I appreciate everything that you do for us.
Yes, sir.
But this is wrong, and you know it. You cannot tell us to leave.
Benham and others were arrested and later released that day and believe they were unfairly targeted while the clinic continued to operate. They, along with the pro-life group Cities for Life, are standing up to the city and for their civil liberties. I spoke with journalist and radio talk show host Todd Starnes for more on their story. Todd, what's the latest out of Charlotte, North Carolina in the case of the pro-life demonstrators being arrested?
Well, there's some good news to report. Alliance Defending Freedom, one of the nation's top religious liberty law firms, has filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Charlotte. As the story goes, you had a lot of pro-lifers, part of a local ministry, and they were doing sidewalk counseling. So they were not protesting. They were actually offering counseling to the young ladies going into this abortion clinic. Among those in that group, a good friend of mine, David Benham from the Benham brothers. And many of the individuals there were arrested and they were charged with violating the stay-at-home order. They were also punished for violating the social distancing orders, but it was very clear based on the video evidence that they in fact were engaging appropriately and they were following the letter of the law.
A lot of other medical services have been suspended in light of COVID mandates. Are abortion clinics getting a pass, Todd?
Yeah, imagine this. I mean, it's really amazing where we are in America right now, where you can go and get an abortion, but you cannot go to your church. It is illegal. For example, in Kentucky, they actually allowed abortion clinics in the city of Louisville to remain open, but they literally shut down the churches. And they told these churches, you are not allowed to gather even in your parking lot for a drive-through service. And this is happening all over the country, including in Charlotte, North Carolina. So the idea that if you want to have elective surgery, let's say you want to get a nose job. You can't get a nose job right now. You gotta make do with the nose the good Lord gave you. But if you want to get an abortion, well, you can just head right on down to the street and get yourself an abortion. That is absolutely unacceptable.
What is the bigger picture here, the greater concern overall?
Well, I've been preaching about this for quite some time on my radio show. I believe the greater threat is not the virus, but it's the attack on our civil liberties. Look, a lot of Americans were very willing to listen to their government and trust their government. They said, you know what, folks, we've got to step back. We've got to shut everything down, and we're going to get back to normal. Well, you know what? We're a couple of months into this now, and things are not back to normal. And the concern is once you relinquish your freedom, once you relinquish your liberty, it's hard to get that back. And I think a lot of people are waking up and they're realizing, wait a second, I can't go out to the local skate park and ride my skateboard. I can't go out into the Pacific Ocean and paddleboard. How is that possibly putting people in harm's way? So I think ultimately this is the bigger concern, is that we may not get back some of those civil liberties.
What do you advise Americans to do in light of that?
Well, look, I think we have an obligation. We, the people, have an obligation to stand up, and we have to fight for our rights. And that's one of the reasons I've been so excited to see these Liberate protests that popped up across the country, because law-abiding American citizens, if they don't stand up and defend their rights, nobody's going to do it for them. So again, we have to be civil lambs, but not silent lambs.
All right, Todd Starnes, thanks so much for your insight, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Todd, what's the latest out of Charlotte, North Carolina in the case of the Prolife? And as Americans continue to grapple with when things will go back to normal, one group has its sights set on Christians overseas who are struggling because of COVID-19. Save the Persecuted Christians is calling on President Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to provide aid to Christians in Pakistan during the pandemic. And joining us now with more is the president and CEO of Save the Persecuted Christians, Frank Gaffney. Frank, media outlets in Pakistan are reporting that some Christians are being denied food, funds, and other supplies?
That seems to be the case, and unfortunately, it's not unique in the world. This is a particularly egregious example of it, though, I think, because the World Bank has provided $200 million for the express purpose of trying to ensure that needy people in Pakistan are given the kinds of food and medical attention and, well, the opportunities for employment and other things that are absolutely essential to their survival. And this is falling, I think, disproportionately on Christians for the simple reason that the people who are dispensing this aid turn out to be Muslim non-governmental organizations that have a record of hostility towards Christians. This is unacceptable, needless to say.
What is the goal of the letter that is being sent to President Trump?
Well, it's been sent to the president. It's been sent to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and to David Malpass, who is the president of the World Bank Group, with a view to ensuring that the funds, which are very substantially American taxpayer funds, are actually going to be dispensed in a way that doesn't discriminate against, well, not just Christians, but Hindus as well. But that is happening. And the trouble is especially in a moment of a coronavirus pandemic, this is a death sentence for people. It's bad enough that they may not be able to get the medical attention they need in this kind of environment, but on top of it, we're seeing them deprived of even basic food. That's just totally, as I say, unacceptable.
Frank, how can Christians be praying for those in Pakistan and other countries who may be experiencing this kind of persecution?
Well, praying is a big piece of it, of course, and it can't be done enough, needless to say. For both those in Pakistan and those elsewhere around the world, there are, by some estimates, 327 million Christians that are being persecuted. That's essentially the same amount as the number of men, women, and children in the United States. So prayer is vital, but we believe at Save the Persecuted Christians that something more needs to be done, something systemic about this problem, and that is we need to hold accountable the persecutors and to create real costs for their crimes against humanity. This is an object example. They're getting $200 million, much of it from us, through the World Bank. They need to be held accountable for that money, how it's dispersed, and there need to be costs associated with them doing it improperly and to the great detriment of Christians, among others.
Here at home, Fox News reports the state of Missouri became the first state to file a lawsuit against China for the pandemic. Your thoughts on that, quickly?
Well, I don't know that it'll go anywhere, but I think it is an expression of the popular anger at China. By the way, the Chinese are among the worst of these persecutors and should be held accountable, I believe, for that, as well as, of course, their direct responsibility for this pandemic that has cost us here at home so terribly, both in lives and in terms of employment in our economy and so on.
Okay, Frank Gaffney, the CEO of Save the Persecuted Christians, thank you for your time and your insights, sir.
Thank you for yours.
After 480 days of uncertainty and political turmoil, Israeli leaders agreed to a national unity government. Here's CBN's Julie Staal with the story from Jerusalem.
Just before the opening ceremony for Holocaust Remembrance Day, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Blue and White leader Benny Gantz signed an agreement on a national unity government. The move prevents Israelis from going to an unprecedented fourth round of elections. Netanyahu and Gantz each tweeted their response. I promise the State of Israel a national emergency government that will work to save the lives and livelihoods of the citizens of Israel, Netanyahu said. We prevented a fourth election. We will protect democracy. We will battle corona, and we will worry about all the citizens of Israel. We have an emergency unity government, Gantz said. The deal leaves Netanyahu in office for the next 18 months as prime minister, with Gantz as the deputy prime minister. Then they swap positions in October 2021. The COVID-19 pandemic and its fallout are credited with pushing the leaders into an agreement. Gantz's campaign focused on getting rid of Netanyahu, who has been indicted on charges of fraud and breach of trust. About 2,000 Israelis protested earlier against a unity government, but most Israelis just breathed a sigh of relief.
I think people have been waiting for the leaders of both the Likud and Blue and White to put this unity government together. This is the kind of situation where you don't want to have a political battle. You don't want to have disagreements about what should have been done or what shouldn't have been done. You want the country to pull together.
The deal puts Israel on track to implement President Trump's peace plan and apply sovereignty in biblical Judea and Samaria when maps are finalized in July. Former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Dori Gold, told CBN News that for now the main thing is dealing with corona.
What we need to do is get this resolved. I'm talking about the medical side, and then we'll go back to the diplomacy, where I think Israel has historical rights and an urgency in light of what's going on with Iran and the countries of the region to make sure that we have defensible borders.
Julie Staal, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, what Christian leaders are saying about the pandemic and the end times.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
The coronavirus pandemic has many Christians wondering, are we living in the end of times? A new Lifeway research survey that revealed nearly 9 in 10 pastors see at least some current events matching those Jesus said would occur shortly before he returns to earth. And to delve deeper into that topic, Chosen People Ministries is hosting a virtual discussion called Pandemics, Prophecy, and the Middle East Wednesday morning. Dr. Darrell Bock of the Dallas Theological Seminary joins us now to share his thoughts. Dr. Bock, you'll be participating in the virtual discussion tomorrow. What are you and the other leaders going to be focusing on the most?
Well, we'll be talking about how this poll of 1,000 pastors across the country handle the area of eschatology. And what's interesting about it is we took this poll before the current pandemic. And with the pandemic now appearing, its results, I think, are even more interesting because I suspect if we retook the poll, some of the results would be even higher than they showed up in the original poll.
Could this COVID-19 pandemic actually be a sign of the end? How does it compare to the plague or other pandemics in the past?
Well, I think generally speaking, pandemics or plagues are an opportunity for people to be reflective about their relationship with God. Whether this is specifically an end time sign or not, I think is something that could be discussed. It isn't a guarantee because Jesus predicted these kinds of things would happen periodically throughout history. But still, it does, along with some other signs, indicate perhaps that we could be drawing closer all the time.
What are other signs that Christian leaders are pointing to that would suggest the second coming is imminent?
Well, the regathering of Israel is certainly one of those features. Fully 70% of the pastors thought that was significant. The rise of false prophets was also significant. That's about 83% in the poll thought that was significant. The idea of believers' love growing cold for the Lord is another one, 81%. So false teaching is an emphasis that you're seeing in both of those answers. The moral collapse in society as a whole also came in at 79% as a sign. And when you put many of these things together, famines, earthquakes, disasters were at 76%. They're all in the combination suggest to people at least the possibility that we could be drawing near the end. Although, again, I think the point of Scripture is we can't date the end. Acts 1 makes this clear, and our call is to be reflective of our commitment to Jesus until he returns.
Dr. Bock, how should Christians be praying during all of this?
Well, I think the main thing is to rest in the comfort of the Lord. Not that this isn't a painful exercise, and nor should we deny the way we may be reacting to it, but you take that tension to the Lord in prayer. You know, many of the Psalms are laments about what's going on around the psalmist because circumstances are not good. And he learns to take that tension to the Lord and rest in the surety of the Lord's care. And then the second thing that I think we should be concerned about as Christians is living faithfully in the midst of these circumstances, and particularly being prepared to witness to people outside the faith who may have very little reading on how to rest comfortably with their mortality, which, of course, something like a pandemic certainly brings to the surface.
Yes, and definitely we need to be prepared as far as our spiritual walk with Jesus to make sure that we're ready for his return. Thank you, Dr. Bock, so much for your time and your insights. Dr. Bock with the Dallas Theological Seminary. Again, we appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
Still ahead, first they survived 9/11. Now they're facing COVID-19.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Imagine surviving 9/11, then facing a severe attack of COVID-19. That happened to a couple introduced to you last year. Paul Strand brings us the latest chapter of their amazing story.
And the shock waves from the plane blasting into that building actually blew us back into our apartment.
Christina and Brian Stanton live so close to the World Trade Center South Tower that the 9/11 attack completely upended their lives.
Everybody's running around screeching and bumping into each other and catapulting over things. And I just remember looking at Brian saying, are we going to die?
The Stantons suffered health problems from the toxic dust for years, and their troubles brought them closer to God.
Our whole lives are changed because of 9/11. It certainly deepened our relationship with Christ.
Now they've spent the last month fighting the coronavirus after both tested positive.
It was definitely a battle, and you were very cognizant that you were in a battle for your life.
Christina almost died and had to be hospitalized twice.
Because the virus became overwhelming and it was something that I couldn't manage at home. I didn't have to be hooked up to a ventilator, and that was a big blessing.
Still, a doctor gave her a frightening prognosis.
Can you be honest with me and tell me what are my odds of surviving this? And he did actually say 50-50, which was a shocking thing to hear.
She realized it would take more than medical help to save her and put out a worldwide request for prayer.
When you have a temperature for over 100 degrees, it's really hard to pray or even string a sentence together. And I knew that there were people praying for me when I couldn't pray for myself. So prayer is everything. And I invoked the name of Jesus Christ quite a bit during this past month. And there is power in that name, and there is power in prayer.
Still in pain, Christina's humor remains intact, and she's rejoicing that neither 9/11 nor COVID-19 could take them.
It was another angle of Jesus being there when a near-death experience was on my front door yet again. I tell people New York keeps trying to kill me.
Paul Strand, CBN News.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Most Americans are stuck at home in quarantine or under shelter-in-place mandates. One pastor tells CBN's The Prayer Link, holding on to hope can help you beat anxiety and depression and accomplish more than you thought possible.
In 1606, there was a disease that spread through England, so William Shakespeare had to self-quarantine. And in his self-quarantine, 1606, during a time of disease, he wrote Macbeth, King Lear, and Antony and Cleopatra. So I think of Paul the Apostle, who, when he was quarantined in prison, he wrote Philemon, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians all in one bout. And so I think we can actually turn this negative into something positive, and we can hold on to hope, because while the world is on pause, we can be extra productive because we don't have the usual distractions in our lives.
And you can watch more from Pastor Ben Corson on The Prayer Link. It's tonight at 6:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. And that's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can find more news anytime on the CBN News Channel. Take care.